Welcome to the first season and first edition of Brownsville Matters. I'm honored to be your host of this series. I'm Dr. W.F. Strong, and our plan here is to host conversations with people from all walks of life about what makes Brownsville special, important, and even indispensable in our time. We'll look at all nature of things as we explore Brownsville, its beautiful heritage, its present charms, its promising future. What matters to Brownsville, and why does Brownsville and its region matter? We're not wanting to talk only to the usual suspects, the mayor, politicians, and business leaders. We want to talk to everyone, to hear from diverse voices and walks of life. I want to talk to the little kid running a summer ROSPA stand, and the musicians playing the dive bars downtown, the surfers looking for the perfect wave at the jetties, as well as those who can speak to more vital subjects like protecting our schools from mass shooters and how we'll select the first people who will go to Mars. Some might come from here. You never know. To start us off on this maiden voyage is Dr. Michael Quantz. He's perhaps not singularly responsible for this moment, these microphones, this radio station, but without him, this certainly would not be happening. So I want to congratulate you, Dr. Quantz. I'm sure you're glad that this day is finally here.
I'm ecstatic, and I'm also ecstatic that you have lent your incredible talents to make this show happen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I think it's an important work that you have put together here, and the mission is a beautiful one for the community. So tell us how this got its start.
This was the dream of the late, great George Ramirez, who was, for many years, the president and principal patron of the Brownsville Society for the Performing Arts. Mm-hmm. And his vision was to have a kind of a nexus in how we talk to one another in Brownsville, how we find out about one another, how we find out about opportunity in our community, and concerns expressed in our community, mm-hmm. all of which should work to make our lives better in every walk of life in Brownsville. And there, he found out, George did, mm-hmm. that there was a small window of applications for low-power FM mm-hmm.
with
the FCC. He combined a small group of people to help him, including Eduardo Gallegos, who is with International Media Operators, Lone Star National Bank, and sundry other folks mm-hmm. As advisors and technicians to get it started. And he got it started after about 6 years of work and put the tower on the roof here mm-hmm. at Boca Chica Tower. And we started broadcasting a randomized, highly curated randomized list of about 5,000 tunes in about 20 different musical categories.
Where did that come from, the list?
The list came mostly from George, and he would also ask friends to supply kind of the high-end representatives of each of those 20 categories, and he would put them on a hard drive, said, let's go, let's put that on the station as well.
So it was all automated?
It was for quite some time, but just to get it to that level that it was automated took a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. And Lone Star National Bank has graciously provided the office space for the station.
Yes, critically, the office space and the tower on the roof, which has to reach that effective level of about 100 feet. And when George first wanted to establish this, he had located it about 8 blocks further east. So given the license, we could only establish it within a certain radius of that initial application. So we're right on the edge with Lone Star, and they've been tremendous in supporting the radio station and all the other things that BSPA does for concert production and the like.
But the range is pretty impressive for a low-power FM station. I can hear you in Los Fresnos.
That's exactly right. That's the outer limit of our range right now. Depending upon the weather, it could go a little bit further, but that whole circumference of our broadcast radius, I'm mixing my geometry, is encompassing about 200,000 people, which is in large part the Brownsville community.
So a perfect radius for Brownsville Matters.
Indeed, it is.
We get everybody, everybody in the what do you call it, ETJ kind of, to use the term that realtors use in the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city.
That's right. We like to think of KXIQ radio as having a jurisdiction.
So, what is the plan for the station? I know you've had to work very hard to put together the funding to make this all possible. So who are your underwriters for this?
We've had incredible support from, again, Lone Star National Bank here in Brownsville, and just generally from that corporation, but also Brownsville PUB. Back a year ago, February, during the running blackouts after the hard freeze in Texas, PUB was here at KXIQ Studios giving updates 4 times an hour, live updates on the air, telling people where the blackouts were happening, where they were working to restore power, how to call in to PUB if you have a problem, and where to go if you needed a safe place to shelter if you had no power and it was really cold and uncomfortable. And then after that, we had some more contact with the Brownsville PUB board, and in my usual kind of obtuse and uncouth way, said, "Hey, you want to give us some support for doing this? It would really make things much easier for us to do, and provide an emergency outlet to give information to our community, because if everything else goes out and you have a radio, which only takes a small battery or a charge, then you have access to this information 24/7, even if your cable goes out." So due to their large support, we were able to hire a full-time staff person for the Brownsville Society for the Performing Arts, 50% of which goes to developing things like this Brownsville Matters show
program,
and running our production manager, Gabriel Trevino, is sitting behind the computer and our cool equipment recording this as we speak.
Well, I think it's a wonderful beginning. Every time I come in here, I'm really appreciative to Lone Star National Bank for providing these facilities. It's really impressive. And I think back to when I worked for the public radio station out of Harlingen, and this studio setup here is competitive with what they had a long time ago. So I think this is a nice segue to another kind of community radio that can fill in for what we're missing from public radio as it used to exist in the Valley.
Indeed, we're looking to do exactly that. We're looking to create this voice for Brownsville, so that we share all of those things that we've been talking about. And it is a great place to start this effort. It's located in a great spot. It's easy to find.
It is easy to find, yes.
In terms of Brownsville being, 40 feet above sea level. This is one of the taller spots in town. And hopefully, as we develop this kind of programming with your direction and hosting, we'll have more and a greater variety of things to offer. Cultural programs, health and well-being programs, important information for economic development and personal opportunity, and how to balance your checkbook or bank account, and from the most mundane to the most important philosophical things, and just where to go to have a great meal. And talk about having a great meal, where to go for great music of all kinds in our community. And we have an incredible range of all of that stuff. And to be able to talk about those things on a regular basis, this is a tremendously good start point for, I don't know, an infinite number of spin-offs.
Sure, absolutely. And like you, I think that Brownsville is a jewel. And,
Absolutely.
And even people who live here aren't aware of the incredible opportunities that exist. And they're multiplying all the time, really. And so this gives us a way of helping people in the community understand the jewel that they live in and the opportunities that are ripe for the taking if they'll just step outside their door and go.
Absolutely. And we all get so wrapped up in our day-to-day routines that it's difficult to break out and discover the things that are right next to us.
Yeah.
And hopefully this programming will serve that function of discovery of what's in our own backyard, discovery of one another, and creating this opportunity to hear one another, to benefit from that understanding and find out some really cool things.
And we would like this to be, or I would like this to be, a kind of politically free zone.
Absolutely. In fact, in our mission statement for the radio station, that pretty much sums it up.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize about Brownsville, for one, is that it is nationally known as the center of the finest tacos in Texas, or the world for that matter. But it is over and over again highly rated by New York Times and Oregon, Texas Monthly as having the finest tacos, taquerias that you can find anywhere in the United States. And as always, people who are from here tend to know it, and they take it all for granted. They don't realize it's celebrated, elsewhere.
Well, in fact, I have many instances of folks who are from Brownsville and the Valley, who go to places like New York and go through a withdrawal of the quality of tacos that we have in Brownsville, and I myself am probably too familiar with how good they are almost every day.
Yes.
For example, the Brownsville Society for the Performing Arts brought in a group from Brooklyn under the direction of Emilio Solja, who's an Argentine composer and pianist, at last year's Brownsville Latin Jazz Festival. And the bass player for this Brooklyn band called Inestable de Brooklyn, which is a great name.
Yeah, it is.
He was from Weslaco. And I picked them up at the midnight flight at the Brownsville airport. And, shake hands, hi, how you doing? And the first thing he says is, where can I get a taco? That was his first line coming off the plane.
Vámonos a Southmost.
That's right. And so we gave him the usual suspects to go to, most of which had been closed. But I said, hey, man, there's got to be a stand open somewhere. Yeah. And that's where he took off. Indeed. Tremendously good, I would say, so good it's addictive.
And over the past probably 5-6 years, we've had the rise of the food trucks, so that adds a whole nother dimension to possibilities.
Indeed. Everything.
To overeat late into the night.
That's right. At any location, at any time. If not health-wise, maybe just the depth of the culinary experience is massively improved.
The other thing that I believe that you have as a major mission of the radio station is to provide people an understanding of the music scene and what's available here in the Lower Valley for people who would like to have the beauty of participating as an audience member in live music settings, right?
In a big way, everything from tremendously artful conjunto bands to the George Ramirez Performing Arts Academy downtown in the old Stegman building, run so beautifully well by Roca and Hilda Ledesma. They have almost 300 students who train and apply every kind of music you could imagine, from conjunto to classical violin, voice and guitar and everything in between. To local musicians who write and sing and play their own songs, bands, the venues that provide those opportunities for local musicians, and those that make it big and come back to Brownsville in one way or another.
Fun.
It is.
It's always fun.
It is.
And every year you have the Guitar Festival.
We do. In fact, we have 3 different festivals every year. We're fast approaching the Brownsville Latin Jazz Festival on October 14th and 15th here. We'll have the Flamenco Festival in November. The Christmas concert put on by BSPA is Messiah and More, the first week of December. And then the Guitar Festival at the end of March, beginning of April. In fact, we just locked in the main concert featured artist, David Russell, who is a multi-Grammy winner. Just perhaps the most respected acoustic guitarist on the planet today.
Wow. Congratulations. That's a big get.
It is. And we're lucky to get those.
I didn't know about the Flamenco Festival. Is that new?
It is a relatively young festival, and we bring, in fact, last year we brought Grammy nominees. We brought in Grisha, who's just incredible. I mean, it's surprising there aren't sparks and smoke coming from his fingertips on the instrument. And incredibly passionate as well. And then we've had...
it's kind of the nature of flamenco.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Passionate.
The spirit itself, duende, is literally the heart and soul of the music. And then we also had Adam Del Monte from L.A. Come with a tremendous singer and dancer. Some of the best music I've ever seen. So we're going to do another iteration. We've had several different artists. And we also make that part of the community experience. We ask that they bring not only a guitarist, but a singer and a dancer at least, so that we can ask them to come downtown to the Brownsville George Ramirez Performing Arts Academy and give a 90-minute class, cante, toca y baila. So that they free and open to anybody who wants to come in and participate. We learn something like bulería, an alegría. Actually, probably not a bulería. That's a little too complicated. or a tango, and just like a 3-minute thing. The dancers learn to dance it, the guitarristas learn to play it, and the singers, of course, they learn how to sing it. And so we put it all together, and we do a little video right there at the Performing Arts Academy downtown.
And then we can bring them on the program.
Absolutely.
To interview them and have them play a little bit, perhaps, if we can get the sound right.
Absolutely. And we can get the sound right.
You reminded me that when you talk about flamenco, I was in Sevilla about, 10 years ago. And I remember walking through, I guess what we would call an alleyway. And just out of the darkness, there was a light and kind of a garage setting with, I guess, a wooden floor, but it looked like a makeshift one. And there was a guy there, shirt off, practicing flamenco with his partner a woman who was also dancing with him. They were working out a routine, and they were dancing there in the heat of the night, and it was hot August night, so to speak, in Sevilla, and it was so astonishing because you just saw the light, and they're dancing in there and practicing, and and it was a very passionate, moving dance to watch.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking about it's a private moment for them, so I only stayed like 15 minutes to watch because it was just breathtaking, really.
Yeah.
And so flamenco has a wonderful heritage, obviously, and especially in this community. So I'm so happy to know that is here.
Absolutely, and I think one of the grand artists of flamenco, Paco Peña, put it beautifully well. When he played here during one of the kind of pre-iterations of the Flamenco Festival, he said that music, as he called it, from the fringes of society, those that aren't necessarily in the upper ends of society's levels, and do the nice things and have the nice houses and all, tends to be the most passionate and tends to be something that grabs you immediately. And that just was his preference, the music from the fringes of society. And it is an incredibly passionate thing. And in fact, I saw him play in Dallas many years ago, about 25 years ago, actually. And every moment was an artistically expressive thing. When one of the dancers rose from the chair that they were sitting on stage, that moment of them getting up was done in a very specific way with individual gestures and movements. So getting out of the chair was an expressive artistic experience for the audience. And I think that really, the scene that you painted of that moment in Seville, man, just incredible imagery. And just massively intense expression.
There was a French theorist, I guess you would call him, an aesthetic theorist, who said that he divided dance into three parts. And he said that you have the type of dance that's done on the toes, on the front of the foot, and then that's ballet and it's intellectual. And then you have the kind of dance that's done flat-footed, like ballroom dancing, basically romantic, a woman in your arms, and it's kind of slow and they said then you have the sort that's done on the heel, like flamenco is very passionate and strong and powerful and emotional and extreme. So he was he wrote in the 1800s about this sort of thing, but whether it's true or not is not important. It's just an interesting perspective to tie it to the forms of dance. But I've always remembered in relation to flamenco as being on the heel and therefore strong and powerful and passionate, close to the heart.
Yeah, when you see the choreography of the dancers, especially in old school flamenco dance, it would be in opposition. There would be, especially to male dancers, who would, I guess the way we would say it, serve the other dancer. And it was competitive. It was almost like a duel, and that is less so now. It's more of a group choreography. But the old school stuff, if you find it online, it was almost confrontational, but still very passionate and very artistic.
Well, I'm glad it's here, and I'm going to be there to see this. So one of the things that this will allow, this program will allow people to have at their fingertips, so to speak, is a kind of catalog of events. What's coming, what's available, what they can see, and often these things are, if not inexpensive, many are free sometimes.
Absolutely,
not all of them, but some are. Some are quite quite accessible to the general public. It isn't like it's only for the rich and famous to go to.
In fact, that's one of the great things about all of those activities here in Brownsville is overwhelmingly that's the case. It's accessible to everyone. And the idea of the station KXIQ being a nexus for that kind of information will hopefully allow people to make those discoveries and in a quiet moment and just say to themselves, hey, let's go to that. We've never been to that. Let's check it out and let's see. And hopefully they'll discover something that they've never experienced before that is really positive and new in their lives.
Well, the other thing that we can do is that because we are a nonprofit radio station, we can bring them in and talk for 30 minutes as opposed to a commercial station might give them 30-second soundbite and that's it. So here we can allow you a chance to intimately know the performer before you go see them perform.
That's true, and we could go all the way up to 32 minutes.
We might, yes. And we could even do 2 shows.
We can pretty much tailor those kinds of informative sessions to however we want.
Yeah. What is and so the plan is that we will have the program on the air, Brownsville Matters, once a week, and then it will be provided as a podcast for those who want to just grab it off the air.
Yeah, we'll just post it on our YouTube channel, Brownsville Society for the Performing Arts, and as long as you have a connection there, you can listen to this as you would any other famous podcast.
But we're not going to restrict ourselves just to the arts. We'll do Brownsville business, and we will do, as I said, RASPA stands and children running lemonade stands in the summer, just any interesting voice that we can bring on the air to tell us about their life and their truth would be quite fun.
Absolutely. Matters of general economy to our community, as well as how to figure out more opportunities and discover more opportunities for the economics of just the individual, and to make that known. And matters of personal health and well-being. Yes. Good advice from people who are well-developed in their expertise of giving that good advice in those areas. Talking about how to stay safe, how to help others stay safe, how to explore a different avenue in education, how to explore different arts and culture things, how to possibly look at science and technology in our community, which has some pretty cool science and technology.
Very cool, very cool.
So all of those things, and the list is very long, very extensive and expansive in every way. And we hope to provide a little spark, a little catalyst to all that.
And we can talk about what's coming. For instance, SpaceX has become quite a magnet for that industry, and new companies are coming, so we can talk about opportunities that are arriving in town that some people in the community would be uniquely qualified to take advantage of.
Absolutely. Again, that's looking at the kind of funneling opportunity into these discussions and podcasts as well.
Well, I'm excited that you have invited me to do this. I'm looking forward to this range of conversations with fascinating people from the region and to learn from them.
Well, I am too. I think it might be a little unfortunate that we began with me, and especially in those terms.
I think it's an important thing because we're laying out the plan, the architecture for what we plan to do here. And inevitably, as they say about many things, there's always 3 things. There's the one you plan, the one you do, and the one you wished you had done down the road. But everybody has to begin with a plan.
Right.
And so I think you have helped us lay out the plan. You've helped us understand how this has come to be through wide community participation and funding. And so we want that to continue, of course, and if the job is done well, if I do my work well, then we will build a following and support, and it will get bigger.
I have no doubt that that's what's happening. I know the people that participate at every level in this venture, and I have absolute faith and trust in not only what they have done, but how they've expressed their understanding and love of the community pervasively in our discussions and their actions and activities. And I'm just so excited I can't adequately describe about how this is going to make a difference.
Well, let's get started.
Agreed.